Helpers, and we've already really begun. And we're having a wonderful time coming together and getting ready for the experience of Liz being herself.
Adorable.
We have two of them, two presenters, and we're going to investigate the more of ourselves. So welcome.
Welcome.
Liz, do you want me to introduce you, or would you like to introduce yourself? Let me introduce you. Is that okay?
Certainly.
Are we all set? You all know Liz, so I don't really have to introduce her, but it will be my pleasure for anybody that is new or doesn't know Liz to introduce her. And Liz is a long time psychotherapist and psychoanalyst, and has been very active in the focusing world for the last few years, and brings a very fresh, sometimes humorous, sometimes challenging, sometimes very pithy wisdom to our group. She's also on the planning committee of Help the Helpers, and she is a writer and a memoir. What would you call it? Graphic memoir writer.
I'm writing a graphic memoir, drawing a graphic memoir.
Right. So it's all yours, Liz.
Does that have words, a graphic memoir?
If you think of a comic where there's captions and the characters speak through thought bubbles and talk bubbles, you'll see some today.
Okay, thank you.
Is that it, Lynn?
Yes, that's it.
More, okay. All right, so what I have to do is share my screen. What I'm going to do this time, I've gotten really bogged down the last couple of times I've done this because I have something to read and then I have something to show, and it just becomes a big kind of technical hassle. So I'm doing something different. I just printed a document of everything that I'm going to say, and I'm going to read it, and there are pictures in there too sometimes, and you can read it with me. It's not the usual thing, I guess, but people do have PowerPoints. So it's similar to that. We'll see how it goes. Can you see that there?
Yeah, it's just turning around. Here, we got it.
We got it. Oh, it's very easy to see.
Well, I'm supposed to start with an attunement, and I never know how to do that. But maybe if, I don't know, do you want to relax? I don't really like to relax. I find I can't do anything productive if I'm too relaxed. So get comfortable, but not too comfortable. I'm just going to start. Starting's hard. Writing the more from the I for Help for Helpers. What is the more in writing? As in focusing, it's getting to a new place. Actually, it's not getting to a new place because it's not really getting, because there isn't a place. It is formed freshly. That kind of construction, I think Gendlin is getting internalized little by little. Okay. The more is a continuing and exploring instead of a stopping. It's an expansion rather than a constriction. And my experience of the more is also that it's a double negative. It's allowing yourself not to stop your process. So why do we stop the process if it's so natural? Why do you stop your process? Well, there are a number of reasons. You don't think there's any more? I'm not totally following this. Maybe you're scared to continue. That seems to be a big one. I know when I'm working and I start to feel this horrible tension and I can't go on, it's because it's a feeling that something's in there that I don't want to deal with, and I get very tired and I want ice cream. And then if we continue, sometimes what we're writing about, and I am trying to focus on memoir, writing about yourself, your life, it can become very constricted and cliche, and you don't know what you're doing. And a big obstacle for me is what I call the amazing grace model of memoir, which is within our pervasive cultural belief system, while writing about bad stuff that happened, you're supposed to have resolved your problems, and that's why you're writing about them. I was lost, but now I'm found. I was blind, but now I see. So a lot of memoirs are, I was an addict and I got cured, or I had a horrible childhood, but now I forgive my parents. You feel that there's supposed to be some kind of a moving forward and a happy ending, which is nice, but also you feel that it's supposed to conform to certain preset cultural standards. But that may not be your situation. What if you're not found? What if there isn't a happy ending? And what if you have a really shitty attitude about stuff? Can you still write memoir? Yes, you can. And one reason I really love drawing a graphic memoir is because the culture of comics is quite different from the culture of regular novels and reporting about your life and so on. It's a kind of hippie sensitivity, even these days. It kind of lends itself to, it's almost a next door to comedy in a way, that you can be kind of wacky and write a comic and it's okay. In a way it might not be in a straight memoir. There's a childlike aspect to drawing, little drawings, and those of you who are into graphic novels know that. I mean, Art Spiegelman wrote the graphic novel Maus, M-A-U-S, about the Holocaust, his father in the Holocaust. And he made the Jewish people mice and the Nazis were cats, and the whole thing seems very authentic and very amazing. And yet there's a fantasy quality. That's not in my document. I should probably keep going. Eugene Genlin writes, it has long been known that creativity depends on the willingness to let go of the usual trite ways of seeing anything. The willingness to tolerate ambiguity, it is often called, but any situation, any problem or task or decision, anything, has a great many facets. It is not merely what we say of it. Genlin wrote that in Focusing on the Development of Creativity. So there's the words get in the way aspect of it. As soon as you write things down and you make it logical and you make it a structure, you're saying this is going in, that's staying out. You're making selections, and you have to make selections, but we tend to go into the conformity part. The more seems to have something to do with authenticity, that when you go toward the more, the unstopped process, you are being more authentic. But there's a problem having authenticity as a goal of saying, this is real, that's not real. I'm going to be authentic. But hey, what is authentic anyway? You can get lost in that concept. As performer RuPaul said, honey, we are all born naked. The rest is drag.
Mhm.
And I can't totally explain that, but it had a big impact on me. Big impact through the years since he said that. You know, we're all walking around in these roles, in these costumes, and they're saying things about ourselves. And you know, we're thinking this is so real and this is so authentic, but, you know, don't worry about it. It's not as if it's not. It's not as if you're supposed to keep digging for something real, as in psychoanalysis. The idea that there's a historical excavation, that you're supposed to dig and find some kind of story that, oh, that's what happened, and now you know, and it can all be worked out, and it's not that simple. I had an epiphany as a psychotherapy patient many years ago. It occurred to me as I was feeling somewhat better because of therapy that I used to think, I am unhappy. That would be how I would conceptualize my state in the world as a person. I am unhappy. And I used to think that when I was finished with psychotherapy and cured, that sentence, that description of myself would change to, I am happy. And that I was in therapy to transform myself from the I am unhappy person to the I am happy person. One day it occurred to me that it was not the adjective that was changing, the condition, sad or happy or confused or angry or insane. Rather, it was the I itself that was changing. How I experienced myself in relation, in interaction with the world, with others, with myself. And I couldn't really tell you about that change. I've tried very hard, but it's difficult. The I is still an I, but something feels different. Something is different. What it seems like to me is something like there's something there about evolving from the objective view of yourself. I am this thing that feels this way, to the subjective view of yourself. You're now not looking at yourself and saying, I'm this or I'm that. Rather, you are experiencing from yourself. So it is the one who is experiencing that can change, the subject. And I think when I got into listening and reading Jen Lin, I realized that, yes, this is what he's talking about too, that has a connection to phenomenology, that direct experience. We were on the same page here, Jen Lin and I, and yet there is no page. So who is this I that we're supposed to be writing from? How can we be this I? Leonard Cohen, baby boomer therapist's favorite songwriter, wrote that we need the crack in things because it lets the light in. So do we need to find the crack in order to write the more from the I? Alternatively, the Beatles say, I'm fixing a hole where the rain gets in and stops my mind from wandering where it will go. So maybe we need to patch the crack, or is the more both? And even more, we want to let in the light, but maybe the light is what we see when we fix the hole. So many metaphors. So hard to pin down experience, isn't it? Okay. And now finally, we will do things together. The doing of the writing of the more from the I, an action step. But first I have to say more, of course, because there's always more to say. Okay. About 25 years ago, I was in an online forum and somehow, I don't know out of where, I started a discussion called The Galleria of the Fractured Fragmentos, in which I asked people to come up with descriptions of what I called fragmentos. Now, what is a fractured fragmento? It is a part of you, an aspect of you, a version of you, an alter ego, an inner child, an inner adult, some way you feel and believe and behave from in some consistent fashion. And now it seems interesting that these fragmentos are basically the parts that internal family systems theory, which I have just taken a course in, talks about. And you can also find these parts or fragmentos in what is called inner relationship focusing. They are also maybe, if you are an object relations therapist, the interjected objects or part objects in your psyche. You could also say that they constitute your inner child. I forgot whose theory that was. So basically, the idea of fragmentos is that there is a whole family of parts inside of you. They're fractured because they are not wholes, and because I liked the alliteration of fractured and fragmentos, and they are influencing you behind the scenes. And you are not easily aware of them. In fact, you're often too busy being them to be aware of them. And when you can get to them and let them speak, well, it's one technique for getting to the more. So I have some examples of my fragmentos. Here's the terrified little girl at night in her bed who is faced with Captain Hook from Peter Pan, who's obviously just about to come into her bedroom window with a terrible sword and says, I'll make mincemeat of you. And I was afraid of Captain Hook coming in my window for years when I was very little and tried to call for my mommy, but she didn't want to come. Cretin Girl, very familiar to me. Cretin Girl is disgusting. She excretes nauseating bodily substances. Blech. That's the most talking she can do. She's green, she's gross, she's stupid, she's primitive, she's hulking. She takes up a lot of space. She doesn't smell good. And she's always waiting in the wings when I'm socializing and wants to have an influence. The performer, you're getting a whole bunch of that today. She's got a switch on and off. She can turn it on and off. When it's off, she's sullen and quiet and moderately depressed. When she turns her switch on, she's all ready to make you laugh and have some fun. The critic. This one is definitely internalized from my mother. Someone will say something that they think is smart, and I'm thinking, that's a load of bunk. And there's my mother saying, damn right.
Mhm.
She's always there trying to debunk people's theories. Here's another one I don't think about too often except when I'm alone. The sensuous songstress singing, You Make Me Feel Like a Natural Woman. She's able to cast off all of these existential hard ideas that she's only marginally interested in anyway, and do what she really wants to do, which is put on a red cocktail dress. One of Katerina's hair fascinators. Thank you, Katerina. A diamond necklace, and sing her little guts out about what it is to be a woman. Here's Mean Mommy. She's always ready to shoot me down. Here's the angry victim. And you see they're all different ages, which is really important when you're talking about inner selves and fragmentos. She's about 5 or 6. She's got her dolly with her at all times. It's all so unfair. She's so mad. She has to go to school. She has to do things she doesn't want to do. She's always being called out for being bad in some way and thoughtless. And here's the main one I brought today. The know-it-all intellectual. I will now explain all of this to you. She's old, she's wise. She'll explain the restoration of the self by Heinz Kohut, even though nobody understands what it says. And she'll also explain Écrit by Jacques Lacan, the Holy Bible, Kant's Critique of Pure Reason, and of course a process model. She's got them all, and she can tell you what's in all of them. She's got a lot of degrees. Oh, a question for group discussion. Does anybody here have a fragmento available that they would like to describe to us? I'm going to make this so I can see everybody. Anybody want to talk about some part of themselves?
Maybe we need to see each other to have that feel natural.
Now I can see you all. So what is it that's,
Okay.
should I stop sharing?
I'll say something. A beauty lover,
Uh-huh.
lover of beauty and interesting things to see.
I relate to that so much.
Yeah.
And is the beauty lover somebody who can emerge anytime she wants or anytime they want? Can't hear you, Junior, muted.
Anytime. It doesn't have to just be beauty, something interesting. Like yesterday at the beach, watching waterboarders go up in the air, just watching and seeing interesting, beautiful things.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Anybody else? I'll go on then.
I can say one, Liz, the fixer.
Oh, I know that one.
Mhm. Can you say a bit more about what is the fixer?
Fixer wants to fix everybody's problems, wants to make everything okay, wants to make everyone happy, wants to resolve issues so that she can feel comfortable, so that she can get her needs met. So she goes around trying to make everything with everyone else so that there's no chaos, there's no upset. Yeah. So she doesn't have to face stuff. Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
The issue of women doing emotional labor comes to mind.
Yeah, 100%.
Hi, Liz. I can
Hi,
only see,
Pauline.
I only can see you down just at the very end. I like Lynn's suggestion that, you might stop the screen share and then we can see each other. That's great.
Did that work?
yeah.
That's much better.
Yeah, we
Okay.
can-
Yeah, I think that I kind of just want to in listening about the performer, the critic, the fractured fragments. Something in me was stirred, but she doesn't have a name because I haven't actually given her an attention, but I'm actually giving her a voice. And she's sad. Yeah, she's sad because I wonder where she would relate to. So it's the pouring in, fitting, pouring in, fitting, pouring out, fitting in. But it's relating. How would I relate to those fractured fragments? So yeah, it doesn't. It has a voice, but it doesn't have an identity. But it's real. So and it's in relation to your presentation.
Yes. Well, when I took the internal family systems course recently, I was surprised that people didn't give names to the parts. I was disappointed. And I tried, 25 years ago when I had my fractured fragmentos, people gave names to the parts, which you don't have to, but I found it was so much more understandable because I found it hard anyway to just come up with them and differentiate them from each other. So I think of them more as a TV show or something. They play different roles and secondary characters and so on. But the whole thing's kind of weird in the sense that it's reifying these aspects of you, and I kind of didn't like it at first. It felt too making the aspects of you things, and I didn't really want to be a collection of things. But it's helpful in its way.
I have one.
Yes, Jim.
The alien from another planet who has to appear as a human to operate in human society.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
His name is Joe, because he's a regular Joe.
Does he have a sense of humor, Jim?
No,
No. Oh,
Do you do a lot of management of Joe?
I have to do a lot of concealing so that people don't recognize that he's not a human.
Mm. Mm-hmm. If there isn't anybody else right now, we have more to do. So I guess I'll see this again. Entire screen, share. There we go. Okay, I have to move on here. Hope I didn't totally screw this thing up. The Galleria.
It's a nice review to look at it again.
And I always screw up the technical parts, and I hope I didn't mess it up too much. All right, how to find a fragmento. Helpful questions. How are you feeling right now? And what is coming up for you in relation to hearing about your fractured fragmentos? Is there any aspect of you that wants to be heard? Do you have an inkling of somebody in there who might want to speak? Lately, I've been thinking about the word inkling, by the way, when I have trouble getting a focusing thing going. I think, do I have an inkling? Here are some questions that might help you describe a fragmento. How old are they? What are they wearing? What is the expression on their face? What position are they in? Standing, sitting, or bending? What room, house, or building are they in? Who else is in that room, if anyone, including animals? What else is in that room, including objects? What is the air like in that place? Warm, fresh, cold, smelly? What's their favorite toy, object, activity, person, animal? I workshopped this last week. Is that really a verb, workshopped? I've never quite believed in it, but a friend named Rachel, who might be here today with her video off, came up with the following, which I like better than my prompts. Rachel said, choose a part of you that leads or follows or doesn't get much airtime, or has something to tell you, or wants something very badly, or the part that doesn't get out much, or a part you don't know very well, or a place in a part where there is a conflict. Is there another fragmento that the fragmento is in conflict with? So if anybody else wants to share, having read any of that, we're open.
Well,
Right,
I could
yeah.
say something.
Go on, yeah.
I have a feeling as I'm hearing all this of disturbance. I don't, of like the waters being, a wind or something disturbing the completely placid waters inside. And I was thinking that I have lots of fragments that I could name, but to be with each one, it would take time. I mean, to feel the air and or what that fragment is scared about, or
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
mean, I was thinking I have the good girl fragment and I have the bad girl too, or the one that wants to be outrageous. They're
Mhm.
outrageous to myself too. Um, it just helps now to talk about them.
Mhm.
I don't feel so disturbed. Okay, they have a place. I would have felt bad if I didn't sort of stand up for them, announce them that they're here or they exist. A lot of them, like the depressee is the first one I thought of. That's sort of a lifelong, heavy, gloomy, sad, deeply sad. That's almost my oldest. And that's an airless room, that one, and is very slow, very still, almost motionless, and um, maybe close to not moving at all,
Mhm.
and has no people,
Mhm.
maybe a blanket. But I don't like, I think I'd rather be with what I'm feeling more recently, which is one that's determined. There's a determination to sort of experience or not be in an airless room,
Mhm.
to breathe mountain air, ocean air, air with a lot of people, human
Mm.
air. It's all mixed up. And, okay, I think I've said enough, but that's sort of maybe the feel of each of these.
Mhm. Very full. It kind of screen sharing. I'm still screen sharing. Okay. It brings me to the next part of view. Okay, I want to do my view so I can get my screen. Where's my screen share? I'm screen sharing, but where's my document? Okay, so now I'm,
Liz,
yeah,
while you're doing that, could I say something in response?
of course.
Um, Susan, I think you brought up in me as you were talking, because I definitely identify with so much of what you were saying, is another part that comes out, I notice, particularly in the last few years, with a lot of force, is something to counteract that depressive piece, which is my desire to sing. And so
Mhm.
I'm working on with that part, pushing the critic aside and just having my voice as a singer in whatever way it develops. And as soon as I start certain songs, I notice a change in mood. So, Susan, particularly with you, I just wanted to share that part. Um,
which I'm working at developing. And I love the idea that it's not, I'm not looking for a description, but more an experience. So
Hmm.
you wrote about that. That was helpful. Thank you.
Are you
I
going
think,
to try it,
yeah.
Dorothy? Are you going to try it? I thought it was almost that you were going to find a voice. No, just saying, no.
Liz, may I also say something in response to Susan? I am here
Yeah.
on.
Hi, Rachel.
Hi, Susan. Thank you for what you shared. I so get that, and I so resonate with you as usual. And Dorothy also with you, always trying to counter those parts, like those really big parts that you don't want to be with, finding ways to, not necessarily the focusing way, but finding these other things to try to balance or drown it out or overcome it. So and then that becomes a part, so but what I wanted to say is just in terms of writing, I think it can be overwhelming and also just unappealing to be like, oh, I have all these parts, many of which I feel ashamed. I feel, you know, it could just have me. I don't want to write. I can write, but I have to be prepared to cry hysterically for an hour and a half while I'm writing. And then this, like over the years, something has more come with, like that one that you described, Susan, that maybe is really heavy and is in a peopleless room and just maybe wants the smell of people, even though that sounds horrible. But has a blanket. That one maybe is a theme. Maybe it's just somebody who's always asleep upstairs. That's probably how Jane Eyre was just written. But it's like these things can have symbolic places in work. They don't have to come into work. And also with the imagination and with a little bit of like the right distance and a little bit of fun, it might be that there's one that's like really fun to write about or to explore, as opposed to my tendency is going to like, where's the most traumatized one that needs air or light? I got to get in there, cry, suffer. What about the one who maybe, if she were daring enough, would hold orgies every Thursday? That would be, this is going to be edited out, right? That would be such a fun one to write about. It's not me necessarily, it's a part. But like it could be a fun way in. So I think giving myself permission to say, can I start with my imagination, or can I start with something in me that's maybe very small, but very whimsical or really curious if I were to open the Pandora's box of this, which I'm not going to do in life, but in my writing, could I do?
Well, I wanted to address that with a thought of the internal family systems course, that I took, and what came to mind when you were speaking, Rachel, is that I always want to do what you said and go to that kind of lighter, more musical place, but then I'm aware of a protector, as they call them, and a critic, and what are you doing that for? That's just going to waste your time, or you're not very good at that, or you just, there's always there's another part. So it's just important, it seems, to just pay attention to, all of those different voices, because there's the idea that if you could, you would, but there are these
I love that. If you
resistances,
would.
and to pay attention to what they're saying too, because they may be saying not just don't do it, you suck, or something. They might be saying it's dangerous, or you may humiliate yourself, or
Yes.
So Marianne Styler.
Yes, you mentioned the internal family system, so I have a little bit of experience in that as well. And one of the things that helped me is that the protectors, all these parts that we don't like, most of the time, some of them are very helpful, is to help us. If we can, the whole idea is to develop a compassionate attitude for the role they play in our system, because they have good intentions, but they do it bad in a bad way. So if you can just reframe that all that comes up is really to make, to help us in a way that we haven't realized it, and get curious, what is, like you said, what is your job? What are you trying to do for me? Then a lot of the intensity of it gets reduced.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that.
Thank you. I wanted to go on and take it from there. And there's a feeling of these parts or fragmentos or whatever they are that want to express themselves. And so just to go to sort of an action step technique thing that's worked for me is to let the fragmentos speak for themselves, literally, that not just, oh, there's a part of me that, but to allow them to speak for themselves. And the exercise I wanted to do was to go back to the fragmento you have described, if you did, and write a little monologue from it, or a dialogue with another fragmento, or a dialogue with another person, real or imaginary. And I wanted to show you two of the fragmentos I showed before, tiny little snippet of their interaction. Because I think the point is they're not static in little rooms. They're interacting with each other all the time. So there's the mean mommy who's thinking, I'm tired and I can't stand this child anymore. Go to your room. And then the angry victim, it's also unfair. Nothing I do pleases her. I'm going to run away and then she'll be sorry. And that would be my ideal. And that is what my graphic memoir includes. Parts talk to each other. And so then it becomes the process where you're not just speculating. It's not this vague thing inside yourself that's a therapeutic technique. It's closer to a screenplay or I don't know, a memoir with dialogue. It's like, and for me, when I'm writing my graphic memoir, which is things like this, hundreds of pages like this, incidents, it takes it out of me. There's something liberating about it. They're talking. It's like I have this character, I have that character. I made them. I wasn't really aware of constructing them, but they are now in my life somewhere inside. But now I'm putting them someplace in front of me and they get to say what they want. It's kind of like the difference between a scripted television show and improv. And why is that important? It's important because you get to be surprised. You don't have to feel so in control. Well, what's this one saying? What's that one saying? It's kind of, it's an improvisation. If you've ever done improvisation in any way, and you have done improvisation, we've all done improvisation because we speak, a teacher calls on us. We don't have everything all planned out. A friend says, hi, how are you doing? And you say things, okay? That's an improvisation. You don't have a script. So we all know how to improvise. We just have to kind of settle into the character that we are that day with that person and let it live. So this is my memoir technique. And I know I do draw, so that makes it a certain kind of a thing, but you don't have to draw. So really, I'm just talking about dialogue here and monologue. When I've done the internal family systems, they do that. The people, they say, oh, my internal something says, don't do that. But they'll have, one sentence or something. They don't really flesh out these characters. And so I have some of these prompts that can help. What's going on with that fragmento now? What is the worst thing that's happened to that fragmento? What's the happiest thing that's happened to that fragmento? That's in the past, right? What's the scariest thing that's happened to that fragmento? But that fragmento may want to tell you a little story about something scary that happened. Maybe nobody's ever even heard it before in their whole life. Maybe it happened when they were 5 years old and now they're 70. Nobody has ever really heard that. Or maybe somebody's heard the story and their mother said, "Oh, don't make such a big deal about it. Just go to school." And maybe they just want to say it to somebody else now. How does it feel to expose this fragmento to yourself? How would it feel to expose this fragmento to others? If you're writing anything down, by the way, I can send this whole thing to anybody who wants it. It's just a text document. Let's discuss what you came up with. So I don't know. Sometimes the writing people here say, let's take 6 minutes and write something. Do you want to take 6 minutes and write something, or should we move on?
I do. I want to take 6 minutes and write something.
Okay,
Liz.
let's take 6 minutes. And I'm going to, it says, allow your fragmento, not you, do the telling. And here are some of these prompts. The last one is, are they in conflict with another fragmento? You can write for either or both. So I'm going to put this up and I'm going to say that it's 9:06. And at 9:12, maybe we can tell each other some stuff.
Liz, I can't see the prompts anymore, but I can see what you're writing.
I was wondering about that. So you are screen sharing. How do I get back to my document? Now I'm going to hide that. Okay. Oh, it's somehow a different document. Okay, so let me get out of there. Sorry, keep writing. I just have to.
Thank you.
This is so complicated. My God.
Hi, Liz. What we need are the prompts.
Yeah, I know. I'm working on it. I lost that. Wait, oh, wait a minute. I know where it is. There it is. Got it.
Great, thank you.
Okay, so I can't write.
Yeah, so Liz, you can't work on the computer because you're sharing your whole screen. If you only shared part of it, you probably could, but let's leave it for now. It's too complicated.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, thanks.
Great job.
Okay, maybe we could move on a bit. Would anybody like to share what they wrote?
I could.
Sure.
My handwriting stinks, but I'll do my best.
Liz, you can stop your screen sharing, and that way people can see more people on the screen.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
My almost / invisible cannot be characterized. -fragment. That is not my soul, that which sees and yet is not that which it is seeing. It is a quiet place holding many, many thoughts and feelings, and it feels like a room where there's nothing, and yet the air pressure in the room is very intense, like weight, WEIGHT. Invisible, pressing down on the body and within the body, surrounding each cell. I wonder if there are feelings there. 5 more minutes, someone said. I'm sitting with this space without words. I am just sitting with it. I don't assume anything about it. I let go of assumptions. And as I write this, the pressure lets up some. My shoulders relax a little. The pressure of having to look at something. Shoulders relax yet again. I wonder if that something was fearing self-criticism. a dark storm on the horizon. What would happen there? Something in my throat appears, a slight loosening to the possibility of being seen. Even a deep breath, lungs expand. She's releasing that tension of fear of judgment. That's it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So experiencing now.
Really brings us into that place.
Mhm. I'm reading some in the chat too. Would anybody else like to read or speak?
I could read something.
Great, thank you.
Ideal is generous. I want to give and see the joy in someone's eyes. It sparkles my heart.
Mm.
I want you to give some of your artwork away. The artwork can tell you what its gift is. The practical realist. Great, but I also want people to buy my art, to give me money. We do need money to live. Big exclamation point. The dreamer imagine we could find someone interested in exchanging art for money or fresh farm food or art supply. Practical realist. Well, we also need to pay our bills. But we can pay our bills with some other services than art sell, maybe. Why selling art? Does it give it value? Well, some people out there have been thinking so for a long time. F them. Well, we need many different of us. We need to make space for different of us. So I love your and I love, what you said more at the end about letting our part interacting. And sometimes I do that in a painting. I see different parts and then I have them interact. And they give me more meaning about what that painting wants to say. So I have a show coming up and I've been wanting to give art away, but I'm finding some different parts inside, having different opinions about that.
Love the dialogue about that.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah.
I can really resonate with that.
I have a dialogue one. Oh, sorry, Shasi.
Can you explain to me, I'm sorry, could you explain to me a little bit more about fractured fragments? Is that part of you that were fractured fragments? What are these fractured fragments? The parts that some inklings of feelings, or they kind of hang out there that you haven't paid attention to? What is
My feeling about it, about a fragmento, is that it's a part of you, an aspect of you that has a voice. That the word that comes most to mind about it is voice for me. And even there's a word pressure, that there's some aspect or voice that wants to be heard, but you're not really aware of it. It has an effect, but we're mostly not aware. I'm even thinking of something as so simple as going to the store and there's ice cream there, and I want the ice cream so badly, but there's a voice. It's not a loud voice. It's not a distinct voice, but no, it's holding me back. It's a force that's holding me back. And really to call it a fragmento, or in internal family systems, to call it a part is kind of to anthropomorphize it, even though you could say it's not anthropomorphizing it because we are people. So, but they're not fully formed people. They're aspects of people that have particular functions or particular agendas or particular ways of seeing the world. Hard to characterize it more specifically than that without the actual doing of it.
I just want to add a word there that in the psychoanalytic tradition, you would call this self states. And I like the word self states because it reminds us that it isn't a thing, it's a state. But I like the word parts or fragmentos because of what you're saying, Liz, that it has a voice, that it's and that it's continuous, usually in the background. It isn't a state that once that state is over, that's gone. And it's influencing the rest of us, the rest of the self system,
Yeah.
even when you aren't primarily in that state. So we have to remember that these words are just pointers. They're pointing to an experience.
And another word is exiles. We have exiles too.
Well, the exiles come under the heading of parts.
Right,
That
exactly.
certain type of, I wanted to address the state idea, which maybe I have state wrong, but when I think about state, I think of your whole being is in a state. I don't think of you as being in multiple states. So I think of the parts as giving you a cast of characters, and you may be in a certain state because of one, as a reflection of one part and not another part, but a part doesn't have to take over your whole state. You can have different parts in dialogue and conflict at the same time. So I don't know. It's all, none of it is real in the sense of reified, right? So you can kind of feel it in a whole number of different ways.
Yes, yes. I like what you're saying, that that I did a study of what I called nightmare states, which is a state of complete isolation and collapse that most people have at times. And that is a part that takes over and says that it's the only truth. It's the only reality.
Yes.
And so that's different than when there's dialogue between parts.
Well, in a clinical setting, in internal family systems, the idea is supposed to be that you don't let a part take over if you don't want to. That you have the ability yourself to say, oh, that's a part. That's not all of me. It seems like all of me right now, but I have other resources. So I see 3 yellow hands and think we should get to them. And I'm not sure, do I go from left to right? Who's first?
I think I might have been first. I don't know. Okay, so first of all, I want to recognize a part that's coming up right now. My heart is racing. I have a hard time in groups. I get nervous when I speak up, but I'm overriding that. And I'm saying I'm in a safe place. I can speak, so I just wanted to acknowledge that. Kind of helpful to me. First of all, I didn't do the writing in the way that others have. I was so excited, Liz, because I have a lot of friends that do this work. I read part of the book. I've been really fascinated with it. I couldn't resonate. But I'm so excited. I hope you can send me a presentation, because your visuals and the way that you present it, and even the word fragmentos brought it to life for me. And so instead of doing the writing as others have, I wrote down all my parts. I'm like, oh yeah, the exiled. I had the exiled, the disappearer, the fixer. And then as I was writing the different prompts, the different questions for each one, I saw how they interacted with each other, how some of the things were the same. And so, yeah, so I just thank you for this presentation, because it made it more come to life. And I think there probably are a lot of different ways to look at this for people to understand it or grasp it better and have better accessibility to the work. So yeah, so I put my email in the chat. I'd love this presentation if you're open.
That's fine. Yeah.
Mm.
Thank you. And Susan?
You know what? I didn't realize I had a hand up. Though there's some stuff I want to say, but I have spoken. I'd be happy to, cede to.
There's another Susan with a hand up.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have
Hi.
multiple Susans.
Oh, it's
Hi,
another Susan.
yeah, it's me, and I'm
Oh,
sorry about
sorry,
the
Susan.
camera thing, but I
Yeah.
be borrowing someone's computer and I don't have it all set up correctly. But I wanted to say, because I've been studying internal family systems for a really long time, from my understanding, it's these parts of my, let me just talk from myself, it are personalities. They're bigger than fragments, but I may not see the whole of them or respect the whole of them, but they're bigger. And they also, the part where internal family systems wants to come in and help is when this bigger personality also has a burden, where it's troubled by something or wants to fix something, or something is disturbed it. And so for internal family systems, there's a way to help each one of these parts unburden so that they can be free and more joyous and more happy and more available and less compelled to act out based on this burden. Hope this makes sense.
Very intriguing to unburden.
Yeah, that was a really good addition.
Yeah, and so they still are here, but they're here like like a discerning part rather than having to go to criticize in order to protect, or a joyous part but doesn't have to freak out as much. That kind of sense of the energy.
Any suggestion on how to do that? Do you ask them questions?
There's a whole way of holding these parts so that they can unburden. And there's a concept of self, which is this bigger kind of, which we all feel, this universal, loving, open, generous aspect of ourselves, which internal family system says everybody, it's natural to us and we all have it. And being able to, we as helpers, exhibiting it towards people can help them find that in themselves, and sort of increasing that kind of energy helps then, oh, this isn't so bad, and oh, I see what you're trying to say, and oh, that's okay, and the part feeling respected and open, and finally being able to say, I don't have to do this anymore. And I think we've all had those experiences for ourselves and with healers, and that's why we're here.
But from a writing standpoint, we might want to fail at it, even if we want to succeed at it from a therapeutic standpoint. Otherwise, you're going to be in the Amazing Grace scenario that we heard earlier.
Well, absolutely. I think what you're saying is you want to really let that part rip and speak and be there. Is that what you mean by not failing? That's
Well,
what
I
I
mean,
understand.
is if you're going to be writing something as opposed to fixing something. I mean, I guess my August writing month fragmento has come out and wants to make this more about writing than about IFS.
Yeah. And
Absolutely.
I'm a little torn because we have 5 minutes, and I'm torn because other people want to speak, and yet I wanted Dorothy to read the poem that I thought illustrated certain things, and then for me to just say a few words before we end. So do you think we could possibly do that, and people could put things in the chat that they wanted to say? Because I know that the conversation could keep going. What do you think?
Sure.
Dorothy, will
Just
you read
Liz,
us?
BJ has her hand up there. I think
BJ, could you be
you're
brief?
okay. You're all right. She's cutting herself off.
Okay. So I'm going to share again. Dorothy, are you
I'm ready.
okay? This is How Pleasant to Know Mr. Lear by Edward Lear, 1812 to 1888 are his dates. And I thought it was an incredible example of something. Dorothy, if you could read, that would be wonderful.
Family, are Nicole Burgoyne. How pleasant to know Mr. Lear, who has written such volumes of stuff. Some think him ill-tempered and queer, but
I
if
have to call you right back, Nick. I'm
pleasant
meeting.
enough.
Please turn audio off. Okay.
His mind is concrete and fastidious. His nose is remarkably big. His visage is more or less hideous. His beard, it resembles a wig. He has ears and 2 eyes and 10 fingers, leastways if you reckon 2 thumbs. Long ago he was one of the singers, but now he is one of the dumbs. He sits in a beautiful parlor with hundreds of books on the wall. He drinks a great deal of marsala, but never gets tipsy at all. He has many friends, laymen and clerical. Old Foss is the name of his cat. His body is perfectly spherical. He weareth a runcible hat. When he walks in waterproof white, the children run after him so, calling out, he's gone out of his nightgown, that crazy old Englishman, oh. He weeps by the side of the ocean. He weeps on the top of the hill. He purchases pancakes and lotion and chocolate shrimps from the mill. He reads, but he cannot speak Spanish. He cannot abide ginger beer. Ere the days of his pilgrimage vanish. How pleasant to know Mr. Lear.
Thank you, Dorothy. I
I
chose
love
this
that.
poem for a number of reasons. First of all, I think it's a wonderful memoir. It's a complete memoir, even though it's called a nonsense verse. Even though it's in the third person, he is speaking from the I. And that distance allows Edward Lear the freedom to write from the more. This is a poem about a person seemingly with many contradictions, and some may call it nonsense. Edward Lear himself may have called it nonsense, but it isn't nonsense. It is a picture of an eccentric man. It includes so much detail. There's so much in the specific, and there is so much of the more in the detail. But it also includes the more in that he goes into the part about he weeps, and he puts this in almost an afterthought. But he shows you, if you want to hear it, that there is so much more to Mr. Lear than being eccentric. And the penultimate line, ere the days of his pilgrimage vanish, before he dies. So there is also the more, the context of finitude in a life. Mr. Lear someday, like the rest of us, will vanish, which I think amplifies the importance and, dare I say, the profundity of all the seemingly unimportant details of Mr. Lear's simple life of friends, a cat, being made fun of by the little children. But when Mr. Lear wants to weep, he goes out of range. He goes to the seashore. He goes to a hill, presumably alone. We don't know why he weeps, but maybe he weeps because he's a human being, and we all weep. The contrasts between the mundane and the profound in this poem, the more, and the particular I, well, they make me weep. Every time I read the poem, I cry. One more thing, he weareth a runcible hat. Edward Lear made up the word runcible, and he uses it in many of his poems. The Owl and the Pussycat, each with a runcible spoon. On the one hand, Edward Lear is making fun of the pomposity of these big words, but he is also perhaps Gendlin-like, making the point that a word can mean anything. It can mean whatever the person using it wants it to mean. So when we write the more from our eye, we can make things up too. We can bend reality, whatever that is, to reflect how we actually experience reality. Any responses as we end to this great poem? We're supposed to be at the end here, but
We're actually over the end.
over the end.
I love that it makes me smile and laugh and feel such a range of feelings.
I love its low-key aspect of it, you know, that it feels low-key, but he's really telling a life. There's a lot of seriousness in it too. And happiness and sadness, and he lets you in.
It really is a demonstration of the so-called focusing attitude of his, both, making fun of Mr. Lear and appreciating him and wanting to know him.
Liz, I have to say what you read, your responses to the poem, feel almost like part of it.
Yes, yes.
Reflection of it. I mean, that makes me want to weep. That way of appreciating.
I think the poem hits me too, because as a person of humor in my life, there's something about, oh, this is just nonsense, when I feel that so much of what's very serious is communicated in humorous ways.
Yeah, sometimes
there's a light touch to the whole thing, a light humorous touch, as he talks about things that are not entirely humorous at all.
it's sometimes the only way to talk about those things without them subsuming, or it's a real way of being with humor, being with things that are I think Wordsworth says the something that lies too deep for tears, thoughts that lie too deep for tears, that's somewhere in the more, but we don't have to hang there all the time. Or with humor, it makes it possible to like touch in.
Yes.
Which you have, Liz. This was wonderful.
Thanks for your help in the presentation.
Wonderful.
And you are wonderful.
Thank you, everybody, for participating.
Liz, thank you for a wonderful presentation. It was really stirring. Yeah.
Thank you.
Good ideas to jolt a little bit more. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, everybody, for showing up.
I would love you to send this out to all of us as a document, and it's so complete.
Good.
Well, I have these email addresses here, so I'm adding them.
I've saved the chat, so I have.
Oh, really?
And
Okay.
Liz, I just want to say this was the first time, I haven't been to all the writing ones, but I was inspired to write. And as you know, this was the first, I have not written in a long time, but something about those prompts were amazing. Just kidding. But all of it was so good. I think I wrote 5 or 6 pages.
Wow. Wow. I
Yeah.
just want to remind people that there's a planning meeting at 10 o'clock and
Okay.
10 minutes. So those of you on the planning committee or anybody else who wants to join us, I will see you next week, and I'll see you at 10 o'clock, those of you who are on the planning committee or want to join us. Bye-bye now. Thank you again.
Thank you, Liz.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Liz. That was wonderful.
Wonderful. Thank you.